And I think another thing that we need to be honest about is the patterns in the history of these African governments. Hi guys, welcome back to the Shannon Show. Hello, if you're new to today's video, is going to be a discussion on the ongoing movement against corruption in certain African countries, including Nigeria, Congo, South Africa, and Zambia, etc. I hope everybody is doing as well as can be, and I really do hope everybody is being as proactive in supporting the Black Lives Matter movement. And if you're still on the lookout for some resources, I've linked some in the description, including some resources on the SARS movement. Feel free to comment down below your thoughts on my commentary. I'm always up for a chat, I'm always up for a debate, and if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you didn't, give it a dislike. No hard feelings. And if you really like this video, consider subscribing and helping your girl out. Let's talk about the situation. I feel like obviously the end SARS movement is coming to the social consciousness is coming to the forefront. It's definitely not a new issue. It's an issue that has been going on for a while, and the issue of corruption in the Nigerian government has been going on for decades. Similarly, with different countries, there's been corruption going on, namely Congo, which is my native, and I've been seeing there's situations going on in South Africa, there's situations going in Zambia, there's situations going in Zimbabwe. So all around, there is kind of a pattern in the history of corruption in African governments. So I kind of just wanted to have a discussion because I just kind of feel like I just need to vent and have somewhere to speak because I'm just tired of tweeting about it. I just wanted to make this video to vent and also have a discussion. But before I get into this video, I just want to say that I'm very much aware that I'm talking about this from a position of privilege. Where I am, I live in London, I'm safe. I'm not on the ground doing the hard work in these countries. I'm very much aware of that, but I do have some thoughts on it. And I'm very much aware that this totally could be very audacious of me to even just say what I think, even though I'm not on the ground doing the hard work. But like I said, I just need to vent, and I just want to say my honest views, and I want to have a discussion. You're more than welcome to critique me in the comments. You're more than welcome to, but I just want to have a discussion as somebody who's African in the diaspora, living in the West, and having to see the devastation and the continuing corruption going on in my native. So the kind of first thing that I want to talk about that's kind of frustrating me is this hounding down of celebrities, obviously Beyoncé notably, the hounding down of celebrities and demanding that celebrities speak on these movements. I personally don't see the point of it, because celebrities now speaking on these issues and on these movements going on in these countries is not going to change anything. These governments are corrupt and they have no shame, and they've shown us time and time and again that they have no shame. Beyoncé has spoken out now. The Nigerian president is still sanctioning his military to kill peaceful protesters. It's just kind of proof again that the celebrity speaking out does nothing for anyone. And there's a part of me that kind of feels like it's self-serving, like people get satisfaction from knowing that they successfully drew out a celebrity to speak about a movement. I feel like there is a bit of self-satisfaction in that, but I mean, let's talk about it if you think I'm reaching here. But even the hashtags, to a certain degree, I feel like at a point, awareness is awareness. Even in my videos, I'm not, even in the beginning of my videos when I mentioned the Black Lives Matter movement, it's not necessarily awareness, it's just a reminder, because I feel like a lot of people out here just posted their black square and left. So for me, it's just a reminder rather than awareness, because I feel like at a certain point, we come to a point where awareness isn't serving anyone anymore. We all know about it, what's going to be done now. So, but that's just kind of my thoughts. I'd be interested to hear from you guys. Do you feel like hashtags are still important, or do you feel like it comes to a certain point where they become overexhausted and don't really serve the movement anymore? I'd be interested to hear from you guys. And I think another thing that we need to be honest about is the patterns in the history of these African governments. I mean, obviously these are all different individual countries with different nuanced conversations to be had for each country, but I'm going to just group them together for the purpose of this video. We see pretty much a long history of corrupt leaders. From the very inception of independence, maybe one or two countries might have somebody who had a revolutionary, but it kind of just seems like when there is a revolutionary person who wants to revolutionize the country, change the country for the better, not have this kind of Western colonial ties or influence on them, they end up dead. And then what happens is they're replaced by a corrupt leader, and then people protest and they want that corrupt leader gone. Sometimes it works, sometimes the corrupt leader goes, but what do? They replace them with a slightly better leader, but that leader is still corrupt all the same. And the cycle just keeps continuing of, we're going to get a new leader who is less corrupt than the other leader, but still corrupt. And I feel like that is just a pattern that we keep continuing. So it's just kind of like, is the protesting really working if we keep just getting the same result? Is there a different type of protesting that we need to do? Is there a different strategy that we need to mobilize and organize and do? Because I feel like it just keeps going around in circles. But like I said, I'd be interested to hear from you guys. I think what has changed is that people are now publicly holding their countries to accountability more publicly than we were seeing before. I think before, in terms of the diaspora, the African diaspora, it was rep your countries proudly. You didn't really talk about the corruption going on in your country. You knew it was going on. I mean, people have gone on holidays in their countries while a war was going on in a different region. Like, I mean, I've been to Congo when there was stuff happening in Congo, and I had a nice time, because I think when a country is going through it, it's not necessarily like the whole country is going through it. There's pockets where people are still living their best lives. So I feel like often or not, there was just kind of this narrative of, you know, we don't want people to see us as this corrupt, poor, poverty-stricken country. So therefore, we're going to rep our country and be like, oh, this is the Africa that they don't want you to see, whilst kind of sweeping the corruption and things that we actually do need to address under the rug. So I feel like there was that kind of place before, which is why we didn't really hear about government corruption. And even a couple of weeks back, when it was Nigerian Independence Day, you didn't really hear a peep about the SARS movement, but it was still going on. But now it just kind of seems like everybody's talking about it now. But I guess you could say it's Independence Day. Let them have that one day. But even the day after, I didn't hear nothing. So I didn't hear nothing. And it's quite interesting because obviously T.U.R. Savage called out Beyoncé, but people were saying, well, we were telling you to speak about the SARS movement months ago and you didn't say nothing, and now you're only saying stuff now. So even that is pretty interesting to me. But again, I'm not really sure if talking about it is now going to change anything, because like I said, these governments, they have no shame. I mean, the world is watching Nigeria right now, and they're still going around their business like, so what's a few extra eyes? Like, you know, we've been corrupt before and no one was saying anything, so we don't really care that people are saying stuff now. That's the kind of vibe that I'm getting, to be honest. So I feel like, again, talking about it, bringing awareness to things reaches a certain value at some point, I think. I'd be interested to hear from people from the diaspora. Do you feel like there has been a kind of change of, we're proud and we don't really want to talk about how corrupt our countries are, to, okay, we need to start holding our country to accountability? I'd be interested to hear from you guys. And then another thing I kind of frustrating me is, and I think I actually did retweet something about, oh yeah, the government needs to do something. And then I kind of just remembered that the Western governments are probably the people that we should be calling. And I think people forget about the history of these countries. Obviously, colonialism destabilized this country, but once these countries achieved independence, they still had colonial ties, and these powerful Western countries capitalize off the corruption, and they capitalize off the destabilization of these countries. Essentially, they need these countries to be destabilized. So therefore, it is not in their best interest for African countries to stabilize. That's why you see when there's a revolutionary leader who wants to radically change things and cut off the Western influence, they end up dead, or there's a new narrative about them and now they're hiding nukes and they have to end up dead. Like, that's just how it is. That's the history. So when people are saying, oh, we need to call on the UK government, we need to call on the US, we need to call this, I'm just kind of thinking, even if they do come out and say anything, it's just going to be image. There's not. I highly doubt that the governments are now going to sanction Nigeria, because Nigeria is putting money into all of these people's pockets. And if these corrupt leaders have money in their bank account, then they don't really care. So it's kind of ironic that we're calling on these Western governments to, sanction or tell off Nigeria and all these other corrupt countries, when they actually have a hand in it as well. And that's not even me just chatting shit. Like, it's all documented. So that's why, again, I kind of feel like I'm not sure if these protests will lead anywhere, because I feel like in the West, it's even struggling to take off. With protests, there's only really been slow progress, in my opinion. But the potential that protesting has in the West is that it can destabilize countries, and it can destabilize economies, and therefore destabilize governments. So that's why there's a little bit of leeway with protests in the West, that the government may change things or bend to the will of certain demands of the protesters, because it's not in their best interest for the country or the economy to be destabilized. Whereas in these African corrupt countries, they need to be destabilized. So therefore, if you're protesting and your country is already destabilized, and the country actually does need to be destabilized, it doesn't carry the same impact, because it's a thing where the country's destabilized anyway, the economy's shit, but the government's leaders are rich. So therefore, it doesn't really matter if you're if you're burning shit or protesting, because they've already got their cut. So therefore, I kind of feel like there needs to be a different approach in these African countries. But I'll get into that later on. And then lastly, I guess, obviously the classic one is to call the UN. But again, if you've seen the history of the UN in Africa and these conflicts in Africa, they don't do shit. They're absolutely useless. Again, it's just a load of talking. Talking doesn't really get us anywhere. They are basically just overpaid, shitty mediators, to be honest. Shitty, please be peaceful. What can that do for these countries? Nothing. Again, honestly, the UN for conflict, maybe like the UN, maybe it can be good for the Green Deal, for environmental activism, but political activism, they're useless. But I mean, like I said, I'd be interested to hear from you guys. But my opinion, and for conflicts, the UN is useless. Okay, so then let's get into now, what should the people of Africa do in these corrupt African countries? Obviously, we're dealing with governments here with no shame. These governments are killing their own citizens, and they don't really feel a type of way about it. They feel like it's justified, and they are publicly justifying it. You go on the Nigerian politicians or the people who are in power's Twitter pages, and they're calling the peaceful protesters anarchists, and therefore justifying their use of force against them. These celebrities have spoken out, and they're still doing it. They obviously do not care, and like I said, the West does not care, because they are making money off of this conflict. They need these countries to be destabilized to continue making money off of them. And like I said, these leaders have already got their cut. So therefore, when you're dealing with a country, a leadership who is willing to kill its own citizens and doesn't feel a type of way about it, I feel like peaceful protesting is never going to get you anywhere. in my opinion, because they're going to kill you anyway. So going there peacefully to somebody who is unpeaceful, I don't really see where that can go in the long run, if I'm honest. It's very unfortunate that peaceful protesters have been killed. Don't get me wrong, it is unfortunate and it's frustrating. And I want better for the people of Africa, I truly do. But I don't think the peaceful protesting will get us anywhere. So that leads me to the point of, okay, well, what should the people of Africa do? I feel like in this case, it's very clear, and it might sound a bit radical, but I mean, you need to meet violence with violence. I feel like the people need to revolutionize. The people need to fight violence with violence. Now, I don't know how they're meant to get these weapons now, but I just feel like they need to arm themselves and they need to overthrow the government. That's what I feel like. Feel like these governments need to be overthrown with violence, French Revolution style. I feel like that is the only way we are going to see radical and tangible change in Africa. I feel like with the protesting, the most we are going to get again is a slightly less corrupt but still corrupt leader, because that is the pattern of things. And like I said, I'm saying this from the comfort of my safe room in London. But like I said, I feel like if we're going to see change in Africa, that's what needs to be done. I feel like that's truly what needs to be done. And in any movement, to be honest, if you really want shit done, that's what needs to be done. French Revolutionary style. That's what I believe. But will it happen in my lifetime? I don't think so, because again, self-preservation. People don't really want to put their bodies on the line. Obviously, some people are putting their bodies on the line, but I feel like going to a protest peacefully and hoping you're not going to get killed, and then running into the line of fire and trying to kill people that are trying to kill you are two different things. So it takes a certain degree of bravery to do that. It does. I mean, it's not as easy as saying, okay, the revolution starts tonight, let's do it. It's not as easy as that. But I do feel like if Africa is ever going to see radical change, that's what's going to be needed. That's what is going to be needed to be done. I think arguments against that could be, well, what are they going to do now? Are they going to put their own government in? What if that government is worse? I just kind of feel like the government is shit anyway. I feel like why not just try something else, you know? Perhaps it could be, I mean, at this point, something else needs to be tried. Like, why not this? But then on top of that, again, like I said, when there is a revolutionary, when there is even a hint of revolutionary change, people end up killed. Suddenly the West is intervening. So I feel like even if there was going to be a revolutionary change in Africa, we would still need to combat Western influences and Western power, because I feel like the West would not be happy about that if there was revolutionary change in Africa. So I think, as well as that, there has to be a contingency plan for the backlash as well. But honestly, I just want better for the people of Africa. I'm thinking of the people of Africa, and I really do hope that I do see change in my lifetime. But I'm not going to lie, in my heart, I don't think there will be tangible change in my lifetime. But I'm hoping for it. Who knows? The protesting could work. I could be completely wrong. But I just feel like the only way things are going to change in Africa if there is like a French Revolution style revolution, in my opinion. But yeah, like I said, I might sound a little bit crazy, but I don't really care. That's just my thoughts. But like I said, do let me know what your thoughts are on the whole situation. Let me know what you think needs to be done. As always, let me know what you thought about my commentary. And let me know what you would do or what you think should happen. Subscribe if you haven't yet, and if you have, don't forget to put my notification bell on so you know when the next video is dropping. I'm also trying to get to 2k subscribers. That's my next milestone, so I'd appreciate if you help me reach that goal. And thank you to everybody who has subscribed to my channel so far. Till next time, guys, bye.